What's up, everybody? Jaron Fritz, aka Frizz Visuals. I'm the creative director for Colorado State Athletics with multiple years of professional sports design and photography experience. And if you're ready to revolutionize your design process to save you hours of frustration, you're in the right place. In today's video, we're diving deep into AI, and no, it's not just for tech geniuses. I'll show you exactly how AI can streamline your sports design workflow, cut down on time, and make your life a whole lot easier. By the end, you'll know how to use generative AI in Photoshop, which prompts work the best, and how to apply it to real-world designs. Our example today is a real graphic I created for Colorado State men's basketball, so you'll not only learn the theory, but also see it in action. Pictures are everything when it comes to creating the style of graphics that I do, so when I found this image in our shared folders, I knew it was something that I could work with. Heavy emphasis on something I could work with. Let's not waste any more time and hop right into it. I was tasked to create a graphic for Nique Clifford's current season stat line of 500 points, 300 rebounds, and 100 assists. Which brings us to our first big use area, that is expanding images. The framing I wanted for Nique and the hoop within the standard 4x5 graphic crop left a large empty space at the bottom. My plan is to add his stats beneath him as if they are painted on the floor, and to make this work, we'll use Generative AI to expand the image to fill in the missing area. You first want to make the image you want to expand a new smart object. Hop into the smart object, make a selection over the transparent area of the background, then click Generative AI. A search bar will pop up, and instead of typing in a prompt, just hit generate. A blank prompt over a blank selected area essentially tells the computer to just expand the image that's already there. As you can see, it's not a perfect one-click solution. After reviewing the options, I felt the first render with the amputee player in the bottom would work just fine. We'll now use GenFill to smooth out these imperfections in the render. Simply select the areas you want to fix and type in remove. With just a pair of GenFill prompts, when we bounce back into the 4x5 crop, you can already see the direction we are heading. We aren't done using Generative AI by any means, however, I have a hot tip for you when you start refining your expanded background. It's extremely important to get the composition right from the beginning instead of continually making small changes as you go. One of the best ways to go about this is by using dummy text. Since I already know roughly what I want to say on the graphic, I will put this dummy text on the floor and behind the basket. By putting this text in early and not worrying about color or alignment, it allows me to clearly see what needs to be adjusted within the composition. As you can see, I started to workshop this and ended up being completely off base from my original, so I needed to give myself some more space. Back into the smart object, I did an overall blank GenFill layer, which will expand all four sides even further. As I continued to adjust the title and stat text, I decided there was nothing more in life that I hated than the top of the background Generative AI kindly provided. This happens sometimes, and it's honestly an easy fix. I don't want to forego what has been done entirely, I just want the top. So I mask what I don't like and simply ask the computer to retry. This brings us to our next crucial learning moment with Generative AI, and that is something that I would call intentional selections. So far, we have just expanded the image with large selections. Those versions distorted the backboard, which I plan on using as a focal point. So instead of selecting the entire area, I wanted to try to get the hoop just right by making intentional selections around the backboard to see if we could get that part right before we expanded the full background. In a case like this, I am just trying to select the area I think the backboard would be. While doing these small selections, you might get some abnormal renders, such as a too light stoplight, or even a parrot. You are just looking for something to build on. You can see there are parts I like, so I keep those and use GenFill to remove the areas I don't. It's a constant cycle of generating new images and refining the ones I get. Now that we have successfully expanded the backboard with some intentional selections of GenFill AI, we can do a larger selection to once again retry that top portion of the image. It's all coming together now, and honestly, AI has saved us so much time already. Rather than having to craft the wood floor from scratch, search for external images in the crowd, or spam the clone tool, Generative AI blends all those classic Photoshop techniques into a one-click solution. A one-to-one example of the time saved comes when I need to make the final touches on the initial sweep. This is something that would normally take me about 10 minutes to do, but with AI it took me about 45 seconds. I start by cleaning up the defender's shoes and removing the cryptic language attached to the State Farm logo on the hoop. And at this point, we've successfully finished our initial GenFill AI sweep, transforming a tightly cropped photo into a properly sized canvas, which is great, but we are far from being done. There's another crucial use case for GenFill AI in the form of shifting around players. Before we dive into that though, we first need to cut out the player and tackle the time-consuming task of cutting out the entire backboard as well. Each will get its own smart object. After that, we'll fade the background towards the top to help draw more attention to the text once it's all added. After both have their own smart objects, our main player feels slightly lower in frame than he should be. While he's pulling off an impressive dunk, no doubt, the angle doesn't quite convey that message. I'm going to adjust his position slightly higher to better showcase that energy, which we're going to do with AI. Now we're going to dive into the background layer we just faded, select the area around the player, and hit remove. No need to panic though. Since the player is already isolated on his own smart object, removing him from the background just lets us reposition him without creating any unwanted duplicates. Since we are just shifting Neek up slightly, the background fill doesn't need to be flawless. It's probably going to be covered and faded out anyways. Thanks to AI saving us some time and frustration, we can now return to the main canvas and adjust the sizing without any risk of double images. Once I felt like he was in a good place, I moved on to my standard player treatment routine. This includes enhancing clarity and texture with a bit of noise reduction for smoothness. I also make sure to change the ball color to gold and remove any logos. Right after doing that, there is yet another case where AI sped up my design process. This might be a little bit psycho of me, but his legs seemed a little cramped, and he didn't fill up as much space as I wanted him to on the graphic. Typically I'd use Puppet Warp to adjust limbs, and I gave it a shot here, but I ended up manually cutting off his leg, placing it where it fit, and then letting AI blend it instead of relying on the stamp tool. GenFill AI is great for cleaning up and blending things such as this. Once it was a success, I bounced back into the original canvas and really liked the change that we made. That was my final use case of AI for this graphic. However, there are several more layers to this piece before we wrap it all up. I added some extra shadows to Neek on his jersey and body to make him stand out a bit more. Copied over my usual overlays and textures for men's basketball so I can refine the shadows with some intention. Added shadows and outlines to the backboard and title. Went through the process of making the text look like it was painted on the floor. This is done with smart objects, perspective warp, and a lot of trial and error. Added his first and last name. Implemented a lens blur layer to make this picture look as if it was taken on a 1.4 aperture. Converted the backboard from red to green, of course. Got into a little liquefy action where I made a player trail to try to induce some motion into the frame. Then finally, I finish it up with some crucial lighting adjustments with the shadow and the player. Whether it's photography or design, shadows and lighting are some of my favorite things to work with. And that is the complete process we use to bring this graphic to life, combining traditional techniques with AI to save time and improve efficiency. But as we wrap this up, I want to leave you with just one final thought on the bigger picture of AI in sports design. If you're one of those who argue that using AI is cheating or replacing jobs, my response is simple. Evolution is inevitable. AI tools aren't meant to be a one-to-one replacement, they're an extension of our already existing capabilities. 10 years ago, graphic designers didn't need to know how to integrate AI into their design workflow, but in a matter of 2 years, it'll be hard to find a designer who doesn't. Instead of resisting change, embrace it. Adapt to stay ahead of the curve, and you'll bring more value to those around you. Like and subscribe if you learned something from this video. Drop a comment what you use AI for. Until next time.